very good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon to everyone. And today, my group will be presenting on our documentary idea that we have researched and together come up with for our assignment. So my team includes includes 4 members: myself, Joanne, Brandy, and Satish, who will introduce themselves when they are presenting. Okay. So to begin with, as you can see on the slide, our documentary is entitled "Wagging You Always," which is actually a metaphor, and you will soon understand what is the metaphor about. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So this video really doesn't have any audio. It's basically just trying to show you about how dogs, in general, they and their owners, how they have that bond, that unique bond that you can see in their faces, and especially the expression of the dogs, how emotionally connected they are with their owners, and that you don't get this kind of bond. It's very rare. So this is our focus of our documentary, which is going to emphasize about the relationship between a man and his best friend. Okay, so this documentary is basically about how a dog changed a boy's life. So you can see in this documentary, it's going to be about a boy, and it's actually about the filmmaker, which is myself, the filmmaker who's actually telling the story about what happened to him, and at the same time, he wants to, because everybody knows that dogs have this this thing about them, that they actually make a person's life whole, as you would say, and you don't get that with other animals, actually. So with dogs, they have the ability that we know that to change people's life. But what if they go missing? What happens after that? Or what if they pass away? Or what if they die? What happens to that? So this documentary will tell the story of the filmmaker by using as well supporting stories to enhance the message. Okay, this story is inspired by a true story about a dog named Wags. This is Wags. As you can see, this photograph was taken in 2005. And back then, we didn't have camera phones, so the photography skills, I took these pictures. I will leave it to you to judge if it's okay. But yeah, so this is Wags. He was a stray dog, a mongrel breed, and he was 1 year old when I adopted it as my pet. And it was with me for only 3 years, and in that 3 years, it changed my life. Okay, so how is the documentary going to go about? Okay, so in the beginning, I decided to come up with when you see documentaries, like a brief montage sequence of a trailer that about the whole documentary, and just quick snippets of interviews and voiceovers of the whole documentary that goes on before it actually begins. After which the super title will appear. Next one. Yeah. So yeah, that is the sequence of montage, how it may look like. And after that, the super title will appear, which is still a working title. We are still, as we shoot, we probably might change the title into something that is more nicer. But as of now, we're sticking with "Wagging You Always." Right? Okay, then what happens next? So as part of the introduction, right, after the super title, is the filmmaker's journey about it. He goes to see this uncle, a Chinese man named by the name of Philip Koo. Okay? This man, the audience will not know who is he and how the hell the filmmaker knows about him. How does he know about the filmmaker? But then, the filmmaker is the talent lead in the documentary, so he will be going to see this man, and then he will talk to him with possible voiceover playing at the moment, and then he'll be playing with these 2 dogs, and he'll proceed to introducing the 2 dogs in a very interactive way and himself, which will then cut to the body. Okay, this is the part of the documentary that is very, very cinematic. And this is where I will use the skills of my team to tell the story. So this part is the beginning of the body is the reenactment scenes, which will take place in Broga Hill. So the reenactment scenes will it's basically trying to show about a more personal thing of the filmmaker and his dog, which is obviously reenacted, and how the bond that they share as they go up the hill to the Broga Hill. They start from the bottom and they hike up. So, okay, yeah. So and then, before. Okay, still stay at the first body. Okay, alright. Okay, next. Alright, stay there. Okay, so this is where the boy's relationship with the dog will be highlighted through visuals and also voiceover. And then the boy losing the dog, which will be highly dramatized. Okay, the next. So this is that's a picture of how it's something look like. Alright, next. Then we will move on to, we'll be moving on to the interview with the uncle that I earlier met. Alright, so this uncle, he actually adopted 3 stray dogs, and he has actually adopted many more actually. He's just adopted dogs out of the street, just come to his house. His house in which is located somewhere around PJ. His house is like where all the dogs just go there. They just know that this uncle will just accept them and just give them food and just do anything for them, because even though he is not a rich man, he's just an ordinary man, normal lifestyle. He's already past his retirement age and everything, but then he just takes care of dogs because he just loves dogs, and he doesn't even think about it. He just, okay, this dog's come, okay, I'm just going to feed it, I'm going to take care of it. So he lost one of his dogs. The dog's name was Hustler. He had this dog that he was a stray dog, very fierce and very protective of him. So this dog he lost as somebody poisoned the dog, because some people didn't like the dog because the dog is sometimes a bit too protective of the owner, that his behavior became a bit unpredictable, and therefore I don't know why these people did it, but they just decided to throw a banana and some poison in it and they killed the dog. So this is where his story starts to unravel, but he will begin by telling about his how he actually knows Wags, which is the filmmaker's dog. The filmmaker actually, which is myself, actually knows this uncle from before he got his dog and after he got his dog and after his dog went missing. So therefore he is able to provide that unique insight on how the relationship between the filmmaker and his dog were, and what Wags actually, the kind of dog Wags was. Okay, next. And the interview will be shot outdoor. Yeah. Okay. So this part of, so I think it's number 5. Okay, next slide. Correct. Okay, this is not yet confirmed, and is a possible interview that we will look into, because we want to enhance the message of the filmmaker's journey of reenactment up Broga Hill, whereby after he loses his dog, instead of him in the reenactment just searching for his dog and in distress, so to speak, to highlight the struggle one goes through after losing their dog. So the interview with the filmmaker's mom, okay, that's not my mom, but it's just an example of how the shot may look like. So the interview with the filmmaker's mom is able to provide that insight of what happened to this boy after he lost his dog. I mean, what kind of struggles did he face in real life, instead of just us seeing the reenactment of him finding and in darkness searching for his dog in Broga Hill. So yeah, next. Okay, so this is the reenactment part that will coincide with the filmmaker, the interview with the filmmaker's mom, whereby the filmmaker, the boy in the story is trying to find his dog, and how the boy uses his dog as an inspiration to get back on track. Okay, then is where we have another interview. Okay, this interview is of a lady who lost a dog that she had owned for 17 years. Okay, this is not the lady, but this is an example of the shot we are looking at for the interview, because she's very young and hip, and she's more like very casual, very cool kind of young person. So her dog passed away after 17 years, and she had the dog since she was in school until she went to college, and now she had work, and then she lost the dog. So she will be able to provide some insights on how people who have dog owners, invariably one day they're going to lose the dog, because the dog is going to die of old age. So this is an interview that will demonstrate the thing that none of us can avoid, death, which comes after, of course, a certain amount of time. So next. Okay, this is the concluding part of the whole documentary, whereby the filmmaker is able to, in an interview with the filmmaker, I think it's the picture. Okay, the filmmaker will tell his part about where he is today, and what his dog did to him actually, and how he used his dog as an inspiration to, not to say become somebody, but do something with his life in remembrance of his dog. Okay. So the conclusion would end in the scene of reenactment, which will be spotted with voiceover, and you will see him managing to reach the top of the hill at Broga as a metaphoric example of him, making it despite the struggle of losing his dog and using his dog to reach the top of the hill. Yeah. So basically the documentary is going to be reliant on the reenactment scenes as the backbone of the story, as the backbone of the documentary. So the reenactment scenes will have a flow, and in between there will be interviews of people to support and enhance the message of the filmmaker's journey. Okay, the genre we're looking at is more contemporary because it has a mixture of styles, and there will be a bit of performative, and also the whole reenactment will be poetic. Next one. Okay, so the performative side is where because it includes the filmmaker, and then he is directly influencing the flow of the documentary, and also through voiceover. Next one. Okay, and as for the whole reenactments that will take place, it will be easy for the audience who watch the documentary to separate themselves from what they're watching through the reenactments. There'll be a huge difference, of course, because it's in a hill in Broga, and also because of the way it's shot in a more poetic fashion, they'll be able to differentiate. Okay, so the characters in the documentary include the filmmaker, a dog that will be used to play as the role of Wags in the reenactment, which is a family friend's dog by the name of Doodles. It's a black colored dog, and also Philip Koo, and this one is our first initial idea of having this interview. However, we decided to last minute switch it to another person. So yeah, this person is actually Davina Go and not Brian Felix. So there will be basically 5 characters in the documentary. Yeah. Okay, so this is the person that I was earlier mentioning about, this man who owner of 2 stray dogs. And so this is the person we will interview. His name is Philip Koo. He's already around 50 something. Okay, this is his current dogs. He has 2 stray dogs that he found. One is Cheeky. The brown one is Cheeky, and the other one is, I yet to find out his name because he's quite reserved in nature. So yeah, these are the 2 dogs. Next. Okay, and this is the other character of the documentary, which is, her name is Davina Go, and we'll be interviewing her. And this is an example of a dog, because she had a Shih Tzu. So yeah, this is an example of a dog. Okay, so my role as the director of the documentary, what am I going to do, right? So basically, in a team of 4, I'm working in a team of 4. So this is an idea of mine of telling the story of how my dog inspired me to make something out of myself, and of course tell the story of 2 other people who also have been heavily influenced by their dog's role in their life. So my role has to be to make sure that my teammates are able to see what I see, so that we have a shared vision, so that we can achieve the common goal at the end. See that light that I see, I've got to make them see it with me too. So, and the element of creativity. So when it comes to, of course, when my cameraman and all, they have their skills in equipment and stuff, but at the end of the day, they're going to be relying on me to decide on how the creative aspect of how I'm going to shoot this documentary, so that people will find it interesting and it will have something new about it that people have not seen before. Right, next. Okay, as my other role is as an assistant editor. So my role is to work in post-production with my editor, work closely with him because I need to tell him on how I want things to look like in the end product, the final product, which is what matters, as well as what kind of music we'll be using to enhance the overall tone and message of the documentary.
Hi, so my name is Joyanne and I'll be talking about the role of producer. So what I do is I work closely with the director to help him fulfill his vision on how he wants the film to be. So I also do some planning for pre-production, make sure everything goes well, like assigning roles to my members here, which is Randy is camera, audio, sound, and Satish as DOP and cameraman. So I list down minutes of meetings, note down production crew contact numbers just in case of emergency, let's say maybe they're running late or they got into some mishap like accidents and all. I can actually contact them and find out what's going on. So I will also go with my team for location recce to note down some risk factors, preparing all the forms needed such as risk assessment form, call time sheet, and other forms needed. So by the end of everything, I'll compile all the files, and that's what producers do. Next. So yeah, I'm also taking a role of cameraman. I make sure all the equipments are fully functional, like camera, batteries, mic, and etc. So like batteries, make sure we charge everything fully, we set up the camera, and have appropriate settings according to lighting such as white balance. And next. So production schedule. So we have this production schedule as like a guideline for us to have like an idea when I would start. So we will start on the 4th week of March, which is 22nd till the 16th of April. That's just an estimation. So post-production will start on 17th April to 5th of May, and everything will be compiled in 5th of May for all these final checkups and editing process if anything needs changes. So the submission will be on 9th of May before 5 p.m. just to make sure everything goes well. So here's the production schedule of what we have planned out. So we have the days and the dates when we're going to shoot. We arrange like, is it indoors or outdoors? Day of the time and location and a note. So we know like this location is for recce, this location is for shooting, and it's for like different people. Yep, thank you. Now I'll pass it to Randy.
Alright, my name is Randy, and my other name is Divinesh. So I'll be upholding 3 roles in this particular documentary. My first role, which I'm going to explain, is about being a production manager. As you know, the production manager is the key role in the production system. Okay, and basically what I'm going to do in this documentary is that I have to get location release forms and contributor release forms done, and make sure I get it signed by the contributor and directly submitted to the producer, and of course managing the talents to ensure that dog owners, to ensure that you feeling safe to give the dog to us. Thanks.
It's okay, just go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
As a second cameraman, well, I have to work closely in assisting cameraman 1 and 3, and and of course I have to follow camera scripts as well. And as a cameraman, it's vital to know how the director's vision of the story is to be and how the director wants it to be. And having sat down drawing the sketch of the storyboard with the director, I had a better understanding of how he really wants the flow of the documentary to be. And of course, I'm also in charge of taking care of all the props like tripods and DSLR cameras, make sure they're in a safe condition. And yeah, finally, the last role is audio and lighting man. My job is to test and operate the audio system throughout this documentary. And my equipments are going to be clip mic, shotgun mic, and a boom mic, which is a brand of H4N, is a standard equipment. And as for lighting man, basically I have to make sure that the color balance of the footages is perfectly fine, and and the equipment for the lighting man will be a large LED lights, film gear, and of course a large reflector. So yeah, that's about it. And I'll pass it to Satish.
Hi guys, my name is Satish. So I'll be taking over roles of three. One is DOP, Director of Photography, Cameraman 3, and also Editor. But I'll be snowballing individually what I'll be doing on this documentary. As for DOP, I'll be presenting understanding of Sashi's vision towards his documentary. So I'll be giving us the simple shot. We will be focusing on ECU, extreme close-up, medium shot, lower shot, and wide shot. Lower shot is basically because the animal, the pets that we're going on to, and therefore to picture the pet much more better, we'll be going on lower shot, which is I'm showing on the top over there. Next one. As for DOP, I'll also be assisting onto my camera as camera 1 and also camera 2. As for camera 3, what I'll be doing is my Canon, as we're working on to Canon ATD, we'll be working on as a master cam for interview shots. So that we'll be using on a tripod and everything. For interview shot, we'll be definitely using on a zoom lens, just to be in the safe side. Right. Other than that, for reenactment, if it's a steady shot, definitely we'll be using master cam. Or if it's a B-roll kind of, if it's an ES shot on the reenactment, we'll be using 50mm. Yeah, next. As Sashi has mentioned, he will be shooting at Broga Hill to do a poetry way. Understanding it's going to bring in to pump up a dramatic effect to it, so we'll be using arm jib to and also slider to just pump up the emotion towards the shot and also to the content that is represented. As cameraman, I will be giving priority as for what frame pictures per second I'll be using, and also the settings of it. And since as we mentioned Pro Loss in DSLR, the one that I've seen previously, for example, like the most majority of the local YouTubers and also the documenter like ID and also Vox, usually what they do in using DSLR is they for Pro Loss setting, they use the neutral peak star, and sharpness they will go to 0. Contrast more to the left, 0 setting, and desaturate a bit. This will give us an opportunity for the editor to pump up the colors as well, since it's desaturated colors. So that will be the majority of the setting in the camera. So I'll be assisting on that part. As I already mentioned, what lens I'll be using, 50mm basically will be using for the B-rolls and also the establishing shot on the reenactment, just to give a bokeh feel or the depth of film into the shots itself. And okay, next one. Yeah, as an editor, understanding that as a reenactment and also the poetic shot onto it. So having reference of ID, YouTube channel, documenter, and also real stories. Vox, basically what they do is in their B-rolls, they show a lot of their slow-mo effects when they want to present content into it. So to give more drama effect to it, I'll be using extreme slow-mo. But first of all, I'll be using the editor of basic one, Adobe Premiere Pro, which it has the basic preset. Also for the latest one, it has more the color. It enhances the color grading support unique to it. As for the reenactment, I'll be using a canyon effect. It's a little bit of brownish to show that it's back in those days, like back in 90s, to just give a little bit of a drama effect to the audience itself. Definitely, this is the bokeh that I mentioned, and HDR is just to give the clarity of every interview shot that we're doing, and also the shot color setup that I mentioned, pump it up in color grading and also color correction. Yeah, next one I'll pass it to our director.
Okay, so as for the documentary status, the financial status of the documentary, of course, it's since it's an assignment project, it is not dependent on any external source to fund the documentary. So it will utilize any necessary costs will come from within the team itself. And voice, we have all the necessary equipment to shoot the documentary as the way we wish to shoot it. And the location, has a sense of truth about it, because the places where the first interview takes place with the uncle Philip Koo is actually the place where Shashi, the boy in the story, met his dog, and the whole place is where he grew up. One more. Yeah, and the characters, they have 4 characters. Next. Alright, so as for distribution, we'll be looking at to seriously go all crazy on social media, and and to utilize that social media platform to showcase our documentary. If there is a possibility of doing it in film festivals as well, we obviously will take the chance. And for marketing strategy, as a student of ICT College and also under BAC right now, so we will utilize, if it's possible, any in-house advertising that we can do within the college premises to get our documentary out there. Okay, next. Okay, so overall at the end, the objective of the documentary is to tell the story of how a dog managed to change a boy's life even after it went missing, while using the story of 2 other people to support and enhance the message of even the fact that after you lose your dog, there's still a way you can still carry on with your life using your dog as an inspiration. And finally, the message of the documentary is trying to show is that dogs, they have the power to actually, even though they're not around, the time you've had spent with them has the power to, make a huge difference in your life. Just because they're gone doesn't mean it's the end. Yeah. So that's about it. And with my team, myself, Shashi, Randy, Satish, and Joanne, we'll be doing our best to achieve the vision that we share right now.
Thank you.
Opening, why the montage? How does the montage help with the opening?
Because I felt that in the beginning, if I just initially I wanted to shoot whereby the filmmaker is meeting the uncle, and then there's a shot of him at his house shaking his hand and coming towards the playground opposite his house, and then sitting down. I felt it would be too long for the audience to understand about the gist of the documentary.
So how would the montage?
The montage will help in the sense that it will show snippets of what the documentary is about, and the interviews that will be in the documentary, and a bit of flashes of the reenactment of the ad program.
It's okay, you can answer.
He's asking.
Is it like content-wise or technical-wise?
Both. Like, how does the technique of montage helps with the storyline?
Okay. The technique of the montage is because it's for the audience to immediately grasp when they watch what is it about.
Okay. Yet at the same time, in the middle, you mentioned that the backbone of your story is the hype.
Yeah.
So how come the backbone of the story was not part of the beginning, the introduction? Why is it a
In
montage?
terms of in the montage?
Was it in the montage?
It will be in the montage. Yeah.
Okay. Trying to imagine it and how the style works.
It's in a sort of like a metaphorical way as to resemble the struggle of struggle, and together is Sashi, the filmmaker's experience towards the pet. So the content, in terms of content-wise, it's in a metaphorical set of touching into it. Yeah.
So when you're talking about metaphorically showing, you have the backbone, but then in the beginning when you put the so-called reenactment or poetic reenactment of the backbone as part of your montage interview and real life reenactments, it kind of lost its feel as the backbone. It will look like it's one of the real life reenactment that's together with your interviews. So for me, if you want to separate that as a poetic reenactment, as the thing that drives the whole documentary, as what I was listening to you trying to understand, I would say the beginning montage would not fit in with the whole
Flow.
the whole poeticness of it. This is just me questioning the creative use of montage.
Should I come closer so that the mic picks it up? Resilient questions actually. So bear with me. So you decided to make a more personal documentary film, so you are the main character.
Yeah.
You're the main character.
The subject of it.
And your bigger picture topic is talking about unconditional love between animals. animal,
Between a dog and
man and
a
animal, right? So apart from your personal story, and so this Philip Koo is the other,
Philip Koo
and
and Davina
Davina
Ho.
are
Yeah.
the other characters.
2 other characters.
The bigger picture, like the other examples. When you began your presentation, I wasn't sure whether you're doing a documentary or it was going to be more of a docudrama. So, do you know roughly? I don't know. This module is supposed. There's no limit to.
It's supposed to be documentary lah, but you can have poetic elements to it. So
Okay. Have you met the characters before?
Yeah, I mean, I met one of my characters.
Philip Koo,
yeah,
obviously. It was quite obvious you met Philip Koo
Yeah.
before because
Yeah.
you got the video footage of his dogs. Have you met the dinner before?
I know, but I've spoken to her. on the
You've
phone.
spoken to her and she's in agreement to do this?
She's really all in to do this documentary.
Okay, it's quite important that when you guys, when you pitch stories and talk about characters and all that, even documentary filmmakers out there on a professional level always are asked by commissioning editors, have you met your characters? Have you been to the places that you are saying that you want to film at? It's very important because so many people, it's not surprising, they've not even met these characters that they're talking about. So they make all these claims that we're going to do a documentary about this thing, we're going to talk about this topic with these people. Have you met them? Or have you put them on camera before? Why? And the other thing is you have some handphone footage of the dogs, but you don't have any of Philip himself talking on camera, the dinner talking on camera. I know the dinner is good in front of camera, I have no doubt she will be. But will Philip Koo be good in front of camera? So a person might be a good character in terms of the topic and all that, but I mean this is for future as well, not just this project. Is you've got to consider whether these characters, whoever they are, who are meant to be your characters in your film, are they good on camera? That's something also very strong that you have to consider because they might not speak very well in front of camera, so they don't become engaging to highlight, to become highlights in your film. You got to make sure that yourself included, you got to be good in front of camera, then your characters are.
Actually, I know about Philip Koo and I don't know if he's good on camera, of course I don't know that yet. But then what I know about when I thought of doing this interview, I knew already how he will speak. He speaks with a bit of broken English, but he has that how to say when he talks, it's very like raw and you can see his emotion and I already saw the way he talks and I already can visualize how he's going to explain his story, which is not going to be like how it will be very different from Davina, and she's very she does this kind of things often, whereas he will be more like grounded and
Okay.
that kind of feeling.
So when you speak to Philip Koo, what language do you normally speak?
He will speak English.
English?
Yes.
Maybe you want to find out
His mother tongue and
what his mother tongue
But he
is.
can speak English, not to say broken English. He speaks English well, but just that maybe the enunciations are not that strong.
Okay, that's fine. If his English is fine, as long as they're fluent.
Yeah.
So normally in the real world setting, even if the characters didn't speak English fluently, we'll get them to speak whatever they speak best in, so that they're always fluent, and then you just have to
And
put
they're
subtitles
comfortable at
on.
the same time.
Yeah.